Your friend with the Harvard MBA just got laid off, while in that same week, a 22-year-old community college dropout closed his third acquisition of the year. This kid works 4 hours a day, sometimes even less, yet the assets he owns keep producing value whether he decides to show up or not. The difference between these two people isn't about intelligence or who has a better work ethic. It has nothing to do with luck, timing, or who they knew in high school. The real gap is that one of them understands digital leverage as a legitimate asset class, while the other was never told it even exists. There are 3 specific assets that make this level of freedom possible: AI, productized services, micro-SaaS, and digital real estate. These are not side hustles or gig work with a fancy new label. They are ownership vehicles, meaning they are things you build or buy once that compound without your time being attached to the final output. Traditional employment is a single point of failure because you rely on one boss, one company, and one paycheck that stops the moment you do. AI isn't coming for jobs in a broad sense, but it is coming for the people who don't know how to use it as leverage. Those people treat the technology as a threat instead of using it as infrastructure. I am going to walk you through all 3 of these asset types to show you how they connect into one single system. By the end of this video, you will have the exact first move to make by the end of this week. There is no fluff here, just the architecture. Part 1. AI Productized Service. Selling outcomes, not hours. An AI productized service is a very simple concept where you take something people already pay for and strip out the parts that require human judgment. You let AI handle the execution so you can sell the result instead of the process or your time. The client pays for a deliverable that shows up on schedule, and they usually don't care what kind of machinery produced it. This works right now because the cost of running AI workflows has collapsed to near zero. API calls that used to cost dollars now cost fractions of a cent, but the perceived value of that work hasn't changed at all. Clean books are still worth $1,500 a month to a small business owner, and that spread between near zero production costs and full market price is pure margin. Take bookkeeping as a concrete example. You can build a service where AI categorizes every transaction, generates monthly reports, and flags anomalies for a quick review. The client pays $1,500 a month for tax-ready financials, but the system runs on maybe $200 of tooling and API calls. The rest of that money is profit that shows up whether you personally touched a spreadsheet or not. You don't need to be the expert to make this work, but you do need to package the expertise. Find one repetitive service in an industry you understand and map out the entire decision tree. Figure out what questions get asked, what deliverables get produced, and where human judgment is actually needed versus where it is just pattern matching. Automate the pattern matching and keep your own judgment on a very thin oversight layer while you sell the outcome at the full market rate. Most people miss the core insight that productized services escape the hourly trap because the client never sees the labor. They only see the deliverable arriving on time every month, which is the only thing they actually value and pay for. The fact that a machine produced the work instead of a person burning billable hours is your margin, and it isn't their concern. A service still requires some level of oversight for things like client relationships and weird edge cases. You still need a human in the loop, even if it is a very thin layer. The next asset type we are going to discuss removes even that last bit of friction. Part 2. Micro-SaaS. Building tiny software monopolies. A micro-SaaS is a small, focused software tool that solves one painful problem for a specific group of people who will pay to make it go away. This isn't a platform or something trying to be everything to everyone. Think of it as a scalpel rather than a Swiss Army knife. The reason this is accessible now is that AI coding assistants have collapsed the cost of building software. What used to take 6 figures and a full dev team now takes a weekend and a laptop, which means the barrier isn't technical anymore. It hasn't been for about 2 years. The real barrier is knowing what to build. And that is where most people get stuck, because they are looking for ideas instead of looking at problems they have already lived inside. Here is a real example of this in action. A scheduling tool was built specifically for dog groomers, but it wasn't just a general booking app. It handles breed-specific timing because a husky takes longer than a chihuahua, and the system knows it. It manages automatic reminders and wait lists for $29 a month. With 200 customers, the founder hasn't touched the code in 8 months. The churn is near zero because switching back to a generic calendar would break the entire workflow of these businesses. You already have niche expertise from jobs you have worked, hobbies you have pursued, or communities you have been part of for years. The software opportunity is hiding in the friction points you stopped noticing because you have lived with them for so long. When everyone in your industry complains about a specific problem that nobody has built a tool to fix, you aren't looking at a complaint thread. You are looking at a business plan. The key insight here is that Micro-SaaS does not compete with big platforms. It wins by being the only tool that understands a tiny group's specific workflow. And that group will pay forever because switching costs are high and alternatives do not exist. You are not fighting for market share in a crowded room. You are the only option in a market of one. But both services and SaaS still require you to build something from scratch. The third asset type lets you skip that step entirely and acquire leverage that is already producing. Part 3. Digital Real Estate. Acquiring cash-flowing assets. Digital real estate refers to properties that generate recurring revenue through content, audience, or search traffic. This includes newsletters, niche sites, content libraries, and tool directories. These are assets you buy, optimize, and hold. You aren't building from zero here. You are acquiring something already producing and making it produce more. The opportunity exists because the market for digital assets is still wildly inefficient. Most sellers undervalue what they have built because they are tired or moving on, while most buyers do not know how to operate what they acquire. That gap creates an asymmetric opportunity for anyone who learns how to evaluate, optimize, and hold these assets. Let's look at a concrete example. A niche site reviewing camping gear earns $3,000 a month from affiliate commissions and display ads. It was acquired for $72,000, and the new owner applied the same automation principles we've discussed. By using better ad placement and basic SEO optimization, the site earned $5,200 a month within months on just 2 hours of weekly maintenance. The asset paid for itself in under 2 years and now prints cash with near zero ongoing labor. What this means for you is that you do not need to start from zero. You can buy cash flow and apply automation to immediately own something that pays you while you build your next asset. The skill here isn't creation. It is evaluation and optimization, which means knowing what a good deal looks like and knowing which levers increase revenue without increasing your time. The insight that separates this from physical real estate is that there are no tenants calling at 3 a.m. and no roof repairs to worry about. Because institutional money hasn't flooded in yet, the multiples are still compressed and private equity isn't buying up camping gear blogs. That window won't stay open forever, but it is open right now. These are 3 separate assets that are each powerful alone. But the real architecture only becomes visible when you see how they feed each other. How the 3 assets connect into one system. Every asset type you own should solve a specific weakness in the others. Productized services are your engine for immediate cash because they offer high margins and low startup costs that bring in revenue in weeks rather than years. You can then use that cash to fund your micro-SaaS builds without ever needing outside capital. This is how you create recurring revenue that is finally detached from your time, and that steady income eventually becomes the acquisition budget for your digital real estate. Digital real estate provides the stable base that makes your first 2 bets much safer over the long haul. Most people pick a single lane and just stay there. They might build a service business, launch a SaaS, or buy a niche site, but then they simply stop. The high performers run all three of these simultaneously because the cash flow from one de-risks the next step in the chain. Each new acquisition or launch makes the following one faster and cheaper to execute because you aren't starting over from scratch every time. Instead, you are stacking infrastructure. This is where the interaction really starts compounding for you. The AI workflows you build to handle your service become the actual engine inside your SaaS product. Your audience from the digital real estate side becomes the primary distribution channel for your next launch, and the SaaS profits fund the purchase of even more real estate. Nothing operates in isolation here. Every asset you add to the pile amplifies the others. This isn't a collection of three separate strategies. It is one single system with three moving parts. Once you understand the architecture, you will stop thinking about just making money online and start thinking about building an automated holding company. You want assets that produce, assets that compound, and assets that definitely don't need you in the room to function. Immediate, actionable steps. For step 1, you need to identify one service in your industry this week that people already pay $1,000 or more per month for. Map out the entire decision tree by looking at what questions get asked and what deliverables are produced. You have to figure out where human judgment is actually required versus where the work is just simple pattern matching. Those pattern matching parts are your primary automation targets. Step 2 requires you to join one niche community you already belong to and read every post from the last 30 days. Catalog every complaint, every awkward workaround, and every manual process that people are describing in those threads. Each one of those frustrations is a micro-SaaS waiting to be built by someone who actually understands the problem, and that person can be you. Finally, for step 3, you should browse acquisition marketplaces to find one digital asset in a category you already understand. Run the numbers and calculate exactly what you would change if you owned it today. Paper trade the acquisition so you can build the skill of evaluating cash-flowing properties before you ever deploy real capital. You have to train your eye before you ever write the check. Subscribe for the next breakdown where we map the exact AI tooling stack to automate each of these 3 asset types from day 1.